Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to sit down and talk about what's going on in Dior. Is it really only Dior? My thoughts on this whole thing. I think all of this is quite eye-opening and I think it's worth it to talk about it. I am very late to doing this video because I felt like so many creators have already made such good videos with great information and that I was just going to basically repeat the same thing. But I do think that this is super serious and I want to contribute and make my own video. I actually found out about all of this because someone left on my comments what I thought about the Dior scandal, and I could not believe it when I basically saw what's going on. And out of all of the brands, that this was going on with Dior, because I've always held them to such high standards that their quality was so good and they had the best customer service. So I am honestly surprised. I never heard of anything like this regarding to Dior. They said that they're investigating way more companies. They did not disclose which ones, but I do think that if this was investigated thoroughly, we would see quite a few other fashion houses basically doing the same practices. At least I wouldn't be surprised. But with all of that said, everything said on this video is alleged. It is just my opinions and comments that I've been getting on YouTube and on Instagram. In no way I'm a journalist. I'm just a girl who really loves bags and that thinks that this is something to talk about and that these luxury fashion houses should be held accountable for these types of actions. I've seen so many articles, YouTube videos, but yeah, this just my opinions, does not mean that they are facts. So basically what's been going on is that Dior has been selling bags that cost them to produce 53 euros for 2,600 euros. That is quite a markup, but that's not the main focus of the issue. It's more about the practices of how these bags are made and the people involved in the production of making these bags. So for the ones who don't know what's been going on, I do have my notes and I'm gonna read the article. I am going to explain it and resume it a little bit and give my thoughts and just do a bit of a deep dive and add my opinions into what's been going on. This is from an article that comes from Forbes. I'm gonna link it under the video, but it basically says Milan's court just placed LVMH's Christian Dior brand under administration for a year after an investigation found two of its Chinese-owned subcontractors based outside of Milan had exploited their workers. This followed a similar judgment in April against Giorgio Armani for culpably failing to oversee its suppliers, according to Reuters. So basically they're saying that this is not Dior, that this is a subcontractor that they hired to manufacture their bags. My main question here is why does Dior doesn't have their own factory? I think it's not really crazy to expect with this price point and this massive fashion houses that everyone in the world knows them to have everything produced by Dior, by artisans. Dior always makes the behind the scenes of their creations, like they make reels about it. I've seen plenty, especially of the book tote and the Lady Dior. Like if I find some, I'm gonna put them right now on the screen. Supposedly when we're buying from these luxury fashion houses, we're buying products that are made by hand by trained artisans that are supposed to be very well paid. Like I understand that maybe the shoes, the belts, even the SLGs, but the handbags, like why do these brands need subcontractors? I'm going to keep reading, but it says that while Dior was not held criminally at fault, it found that Dior was negligent by failing to take appropriate measures to check out actual working conditions or technical capabilities of contracting companies. In my opinion, this is all alleged, but Dior isn't confused about what the costs and production levels would be if they really follow the rules. If they were producing these items ethically, there's no way they would be able to acquire these bags from the factory for 53 euros. I just don't understand how they can claim to be in the dark about the conditions of these workers. If you just put into account the cost of the materials and like the production of them, if they're paying this amount for the bags and Dior really thinks about it and takes into account the cost of the materials used to make the bags, the rent, the utilities, how much do they even think that is left out of those 53 euros for the workers? That's just simple math. I do not know if they just turned a blind eye to the situation, if this is such a common practice that they really don't care. The court's investigation also alleged that such unethical manufacturing practices are systemic through Italy, where thousands of small foreign-owned manufacturers supply luxury brands with goods that can't claim the priced Made in Italy label but are produced at Made in China prices. And here's where the numbers come in. Documents reviewed as part of the probe reveal shocking details. Dior pays mere 53 euros per handbag to its suppliers, which it then sells in stores for 2,600. Almost everyone assumed that this bag was the Dior book tote, but it has been shown that this is a model that is no longer being sold and produced at Dior. No one really knows which bag is it, so you're not gonna find it on the website or at the stores for what I know. While Armani's bags initially bought for 93 euros from suppliers are resold to the brand for 2,050 and subsequently priced around 1,800 euros in store. I mean, we all know that on these prices with luxury handbags, we are paying for more than the handbag itself. In the price, you have to include the marketing, the runways, the boutiques, the employees, and besides all of that, it adds to the history of the brand and the supposed craftsmanship of this bag. This is how you kind of justify these prices, because these luxury fashion houses are supposed to stand on their history and the way they produce these things. With luxury items and luxury prices, we're not supposed to be worried about the ethics on how these bags are being made. And with all of this coming out, I'm just failing to see what's the difference from this to buying a dupe. If they are both made under unethical conditions with cheap production costs, I'm really failing to see at what point a dupe becomes a real, and if the only thing that is needed is for Dior to own then the bag and then sell it to you. The investigators further revealed that some of these factories are located in Italy, also manufacture goods for other renowned fashion labels. It doesn't say which ones, I'm not going to assume, but at the same time, it's really hard not to think which ones probably are. Prosecutors have criticized the luxury companies for failing to oversee their supply chain. However, the companies do not face charges related to these findings. It really feels like luxury brands have lost the essence of what all of this is supposed to be about. I'm going here to speak for myself and many of us in this community to keep trying to justify the prices that we pay for these handbags, because we appreciate the history behind them. We appreciate the craftsmanship, the quality, that these are items that are supposed to last you decades and they have a resale value, they have a leg to stand on, they have the name to stand on. There are supposed to be values, and the values that are supposed to be behind the brand and the pieces that they create. The history of Dior in specific is quite literally based on the fact that Christian Dior loved his creations. He loved making beautiful clothing for women and beautiful quality pieces, and I do believe that if he saw all of this, he would be heartbroken, because it's not what all of this was supposed to be. And I think all of this comes from massive greed. I don't even know how they could be profiting more than what they're already doing, taking into account all the price increases they put, how quality has decreased. On many brands, the bags used to be gold-plated and they're not gold-plated anymore. You can also see quite a substantial change in the leather quality from bags prior to 2020 to the bags that are being produced right now. So I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm just going to keep on reading, but it says that Dior, owned by the luxury giant LVMH, did not comment on the report. However, Armani said it had control and prevention measures in place to minimize abuses in the supply chain. I do want to note that they used the word minimize and not just completely getting rid of the problem, and was collaborating with the utmost transparency with the authorities. So to resume a little bit what's coming, basically they found that in these factories they had illegal immigrants working in very unsafe conditions. There were at least 2 illegal immigrants and 7 who were employed off the books. According to the report, workers usually operated machines from which safety devices had been removed to increase productivity, compromising safety. Workers also lived at the workshop. Electricity consumption data indicated that the employees typically worked from dawn until 9 p.m., including on weekends and holidays. And there's this quote that I do want to mention that says, "Recent investigations in luxury fashion supply chains of both Armani and Dior highlight the urgent need for industry leaders to address meaningful change. It can no longer be acceptable to have luxury fashion business models based on human rights violations." It says that some workers were forced to sleep in the factory to have manpower available around the clock 24 hours per day. Manufacturing equipment safety devices had been forcibly removed to allow the workers to operate faster. Greed is out of control. I don't even understand how they are justifying these price increases, given the fact that they're trying to reduce the cost of pretty much everything related to these bags. And I do have a lot of questions like, all of these bags are made in factories like this, or just this specific one? Because I'm failing to believe that this is just the only bag that is produced like this. There is no more information on this, but the problem is that this exact issue has always been like the main concern about replicas and fakes. Let's put the copyright aside and the quality and the materials of these bags and just think about the ethics of it. Fakes are so unethical because we are not aware of the conditions of how these bags are being produced. We just cannot know if this is people that are being paid for their labor. And there's always been a topic about children working in these factories. And don't get me wrong, I am and will always be against replicas no matter what is happening right now. But I am failing to see the difference between a dupe replica and the real bags if they are produced under the same circumstances at very similar costs. What makes these major luxury fashion houses any different from any fast fashion? What makes the bags authentic? Is it when Dior buys them from the subcontractor? I think all luxury brands should be looked into very closely, consistently. They need to be upheld to follow the ethics, the morals, but also the quality, the labor practices, and the fact that all of their items, they have a tag that says made in Italy, made in France, or made in Spain. They have to be totally made in that country by workers that are being paid for their work, that have trained to have this position, which is what they portray to us on social media and throughout the years. I'm not saying that this has always been the practice, but clearly something changed along the way. And I think all of this is the minimum for them to retain their label or name as a luxury fashion house. Just like the requirements you need to follow to be considered as haute couture, I think there should be some sort of system that these brands would need to follow every single aspect of it. And if not, they could get withdrawn the luxury label of it because it is not luxury anymore. Now, talking if I plan to keep buying Dior, the answer is I don't think I will. To be quite honest, this goes beyond the quality of things and more of the morals. I think we really need to hold these luxury houses accountable, because if we don't do it, this is going to become a standard. And we complain so much about fast fashion and we do nothing about these major luxury fashion houses. I just don't see what's the point. If I'm ever interested in a Dior piece, I will very likely go for vintage, because even then they just have better quality. I do hope that with all of this, Dior does reflect, and with Dior all of the other brands, because I do allegedly believe that this is a really big issue that most luxury fashion houses might fall under. We might never know about this. The other thing that I wanted to talk about and that I got a lot of questions is, what am I going to do with the Dior pieces that I own? I don't think that we need to go and burn the bags and cut them and post the videos on social media. This is your hard-earned money. You can use your bags. Just don't contribute any further until we see some sort of change on the practices of these luxury fashion houses. Right now it's Dior, but I feel like if they start a change, maybe other brands will follow suit. Luxury is supposed to be exceptional craftsmanship, history, quality, like a lot it's supposed to be put into the creation of these pieces to really justify the prices that they have. And I think there was such a big change after 2020 that it just has not been the same. And in an ideal world, I would say that this would be something to reflect on for all the fashion houses that may be doing this, and they can please just stop, reflect, regroup, and go back to the practices that they had 50 years ago. I do also feel like now is the perfect time to support smaller brands, smaller designers that they produce everything themselves. Everything is handmade by the label. Smaller and local artisans. I think it's a very good and ethical way to support the ones who deserve the praise for their craft, and clearly not these massive brands that are driven by greed. So this was my video. I don't usually make videos like this, but I thought that this was an important topic to touch on. I would love to hear you guys on the comments, and if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing and click the notification bell down below so you don't miss any of my videos. And if you're not done watching, I'm gonna leave you 2 videos right here in case you want to check them out. Thank you and see you on the next one. Bye.